We're gonna talk a little bit about Disney's malpractice. Does the camera shift too much?
This is my intro.
Hello. You may be wondering, hey, you look different a couple times throughout this video. And that's because parts of this video were filmed last year in June. I wore the same shirt for continuity, but my hair is longer, the background's different. Please do not be alarmed. I'm cutting this video together because my original Disney video was about 2.5 hours long, and my computer said, no, we're not gonna edit that. So I only took the parts connected to Little Mermaid and Ironheart, put that in the first video, but I did talk about Descendants, and with the new Descendants movie coming out, I decided, why not put this out now? So let's strap in and get into it. Let's talk patterns. There is difficulty that comes with being a Black person or a person of color while watching television. You must learn to sift through several different messages being conveyed to you and focus on the positives, or at least that's how television programming has attempted to train us to do. Whether that looks like having to face glaring stereotypes and ignoring them, seeing inaccurate depictions of your culture, or seeing a one-dimensional character of color more often than not. That being said, High School Musical can easily be considered one of Disney's most popular and successful franchises, from having concert tours, sequels, spin-offs, even having their film released in theaters. Now, I want to draw your attention to 3 Black characters in High School Musical: Zeke Baylor, Chad Danforth, and Taylor McKessie. Before I go any deeper into this, though, I will need to address the elephant in the room. I now introduce you to the Black best friend trope, also known as the token Black friend. We see this everywhere in media, but for now, I'll stick with Disney and their family representation and their family companies. Let's use Marvel as an example. Those are plentiful. We have Tony Iron Man Stark and James Rhodey Rhodes, aka War Machine. Then we have Steve Captain America Rogers and Sam Falcon Wilson. And then they also replicated this with Sam Wilson's Captain America and Bucky Barnes. So we have like the Black best friend trope, except at least in this instance, Sam Wilson is like the front runner and Bucky is kind of like the side guy, but still. Then we have Carol Captain Marvel Danvers and Maria Photon Rambeau. And now I think technically by association we have Carol Captain Marvel Danvers and Monica Photon Rambeau, but they're not really friends. It's very like a estranged family situation, and we're not going to get into that. Those are 3 of some of the most prominent Marvel characters that we have that have Black best friends. Interpret those air quotes as you will. In fact, the only other significant Black character in the MCU right now is King T'Challa. However, now, unfortunately, I did write this before Chadwick's passing, I believe, so now it is Shuri, who is also the Black Panther, but it's Shuri, and then we have Riri on the tails of that. And reasonably, the only reason why T'Challa had not been the token Black friend in his own franchise was because he was meant to be from an uncolonized African country surrounded by an invisible barrier, and still they tried to do it by having Everett Ross in there and having them have some sort of a camaraderie. And we see that continued in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where Ross and Shuri have like a somewhat of a camaraderie. To give some background on the dangers of this trope, the token Black friend is someone that is supposed to be considered either a good Black person or an amalgamation of Black stereotypes, depending on the goal of the role or show. The token Black friend is meant to make individuals of other races feel less threatened by Black people, to make them more palatable. This token Black person is expected to know all things Black and Black culture, an urban translator, if you will. The token Black friend is different from all the other Black folk. However, they are still Black. Black enough for people to mention their name when talking about diversity. And I told you all of this just so you could get a feel for all the idiosyncrasies that lie within the creative choices when it comes to writing, casting, and directive choices in programs. Just to clarify, I am in no way saying that non-Black individuals cannot have Black friends in films. But what I am saying is that when this is the case, these Black individuals need to have a backstory, some complexity. Their only purpose cannot be to help their non-Black counterparts. This is what we see in the examples I gave above. Taylor is Gabriella's best friend, yes, but she also serves as her guide in the first film, teaching her the ins and outs of high school. That's fine, nothing inherently wrong with that. She also serves as a sounding board for Gabriella's developing feelings and emotions towards Troy, as well as her musical and Sharpay situations. Taylor's entire development, if you want to call it that, revolves around either assisting Gabriella and or attempting to meddle in her endeavors to gain Taylor's, along with others, desired results. Chad has a very similar role. He is there to remind Troy of his path as a basketball player, not a musical leading man, working with Taylor to meddle in Troy's endeavors to gain a desired result. As stated previously, these roles are not inherently bad, but to see this mishandling of some of these Black characters in High School Musical after the success of Cheetah Girls, which demonstrated positive and diverse representation and complex stories for melanated characters of the 4 leading ladies, save for Dorinda, to this lack of complexity is just jarring. Now, I know I'm jumping around, and I do kind of want to touch on Cheetah Girls because I made a short recently about the impact of Cheetah Girls and what it has had on Disney, but Cheetah Girls was the blueprint for a High School Musical for Camp Rock, just as That's So Raven was for so many other series. Raven-Symoné was a juggernaut when it comes to Disney. Without the Cheetah Girls and the success of Cheetah Girls, Disney would not have made High School Musical, Teen Beach Movie, Lemonade Mouth. Any of those musical movies that you love would not have come to pass. The Cheetah Girls was a test to see if people would basically watch a musical movie. And of course, we, especially the Black demographic, young Black girls and boys, tuned in because we were so excited to see not only Raven-Symoné, but a cast of people in a DCOM that were melanated, that looked like us, in a sea of white-led DCOM films. It was unprecedented. It broke records for Disney, and that paved the way for High School Musical. So again, to see the diversity that was displayed, see that diversity succeed, and then to see it severely watered down to stereotypes and tropes in the movies going forward was very disappointing to see. So now let's get into why you probably clicked onto this video. Let's get into Descendants. Y'all. Ooh-wee. Okay. July of 2015 saw the release of Descendants, the first installment of a trilogy of successful films. Now, let me just stop y'all right there. I already know what you're gonna say. It's not a trilogy anymore. Listen, I'm pulling excerpts from my thesis. So when I wrote this, it was a trilogy. And I tried to write a version where I was incorporating the other films, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry, y'all. So for the sake of this video, we're just talking about the first 3 Descendant movies, okay? We're not including the new ones that are coming out and all that. Yeah, we're not doing it. So let me start again, and don't interrupt me this time. Thank you. July of 2015 saw the release of Descendants, the first installment of a trilogy of successful films. The premise of these films is following the children of notorious Disney villains such as Cruella de Vil, Ursula, Maleficent, and Jafar, to name a few. These villains were banished to an isle along with their eventual children, never to be able to escape and see the outside world until one day, the new king of Oradon, the land of the heroes, Ben, decrees a new program. This program would allow for a select few kids to exit the confinement of the Isle to experience life outside. And, you know, like a place not filled to the brim with garbage and rotting food. Those selected included Mal, the daughter of Maleficent, Evie, the daughter of the evil queen, Jay, the son of Jafar, Carlos, the son of Cruella de Vil. Now, at the end of the first film, the VKs, the villain kids, like to be called the VKs, so that's what we're going to be calling them, they have turned over a new leaf, striving to start anew in this new land, leaving their past and implied abusive parents behind. The second film introduced a new villain, if that is what Disney wants to call her. What was her name again? Uma! I was joking because the song is... Okay. Uma, played by China Anne McClain, is a Black character, obviously. She's got box braids for days, the daughter of Ursula. When we first meet Uma, we get the immediate sense that she and Mal are on less than good terms. We get some hints here and there that Mal used to bully Uma, one line explicitly referencing when Mal said that Uma wasn't big or bad enough to be in her gang back when they were kids.
That little traitor who left us in the dirt.
You turned her back on evil. Who said you weren't big or bad enough to be in her gang. Back when we were kids. Come on, you guys remember? She called her Shrimpy and the name just kind of stuck.
We see this referenced again in the third movie with Mal herself saying,
So I maybe kind of missed the boat a little bit on calling you Shrimpy and not letting you join the gang.
Yeah. We really could have torn up the aisle together.
Uma's been rejected by the main VK, if that's what we want to call her. Like, the first movie kind of sets Mal up to be like the top dog who knows why Maleficent is seen as, like, I don't know, because the first villain, I guess, was the evil queen, but I'm not really sure why they have. Anyway, going back to that second film, we see Uma have the same hopes as Mel and the others, a chance to escape the Isle. After all, these kids did nothing to deserve this punishment. Their parents did. In the second film, we also see Mal in conflict with herself, running from the outside world where her boyfriend is king, we will come back to this later, and returning to the Isle, attempting to recover her old turf, which belongs to Uma now.
If you win, Ben is free to go. Don't you want to know what I get if I win?
Still dreaming.
Last time I checked, your mother thought she had things all sewn up too, huh? How'd that work out for her again? If I win, you bring me the wand. Now, bring me Fairy Godmother's magic wand to my ship tomorrow at 12 noon. Sharp.
After striking and losing a bet with Uma, Mal must give Uma Fairy Godmother's wand. Now, this was Mal and her gang's plot in the first film. Escape the Isle, get the wand, free the Isle from imprisonment by any means necessary. And they only reverted on their plan in the last possible moment. Now, some could say that they were influenced by their parents to do this, but again, they kind of weren't necessarily fully against it themselves. I think they just mostly didn't want to have to interact with their parents anymore, and if that meant locking everybody else up in the Isle too, they were willing to do it. It sounds bad because it is. After being tricked by Mal, who gave Uma a fake wand, Uma eventually escapes the island, and much like Mal in the first film, Uma spells the king to fall in love with her, hoping to infiltrate the kingdom from the inside. Obviously, in true Disney fashion, this plan falls through and does not work. However, Uma does get to live outside the Isle because she manages to escape in the last minute. Unlike Mal, however, the king does not stay in love with Uma after the spell wears off, so she has no pardon on her actions. She's just gotta live with the crimes. The thing to point out in all of this is that Uma and Mal literally had the same motivations. The only difference being that Mal and her crew were given the benefit of the doubt, whereas Uma was treated as a villain with no hopes of redemption. We have to go back to the importance of imagery here and how confusing it must be, or could be, for a child watching this television movie series, seeing similar actions being played out by two different characters, only to see two completely different results. One glaring difference is one character is black and one character is white. There's so much a child can infer from these visible differences, and I would argue to say that Uma is not a villain at all. Rather, that if there were a villain in this entire film, it was Mal and the whole of Ordon. Uma had the intention of freeing those on the Isle that had been wrongfully imprisoned and who had been left behind and forgotten by the king and his program that had started with the first group of VKs.
Set me free, and we'll go back together.
Oh, so now I get an invite. Gee, I wonder why. When you brought Mal, Evie, Carlos, and Jay to Oradon, that's as mad as I've ever been in my life.
I never thought of it like that before. That I could have hurt the people I didn't pick. The plan was to start with 4 kids and bring more people over. So I was busy being king. That sounds lame. I'm so sorry.
Focusing a little more on Uma's role in Descendants 3, we're introduced to a trope that is known as the magical Negro trope. It's described as a character, usually black or a person of color, that steps forward to help a normal person to show that individuals of their marginalized group are not bad people. This person usually comes from a poor, grimy place and step into a world that's different than what they know. You know, clean, orderly, etc., such as the Isle versus Auradon. This is seen in Descendants, almost the premise of the entire film, actually. The Isle is portrayed as dirty, grimy, horrible place to live. In fact, one of the young characters in the third film actually comments on how nice it is to eat something that doesn't have flies in it. And is this character black? Yes!
Delicious. I especially love the lack of dirt. And the lack of flies.
Included in the magical Negro trope is the expectation that this magical being is, well, magical. And they may be wondering why the magical Negro character does not just save the day themselves. Well, it is central to their character that they are more concerned with helping others, not looking for notoriety themselves. And if these characters do show any selfish desires, it would be in a moment of expressing to the protagonist errors in their actions.
Regain your might and ignite! Oh. Regain your might and ignite!
Bummer. Let's go find Gil and leave them all to rot.
These characters may be written off after they have served their purpose in assisting the protagonist. And we see all of these traits present in Uma, especially in the third film.
Well, I'll have to send guards to get him.
Maybe I can hitch a ride. The Isle is my home. Someone needs to be there to protect it.
The Isle will be in very good hands. I really think that Edie was right. I do think that we could have been friends.
Uma comes in all super powered up with her octopus abilities, with her mother's magical shell. She saves Mal's magical ember from going out, and this ember is very essential to this plot line of this movie. After saving the ember, Uma agrees to help Mal defeat Audrey. We're going to talk about Audrey. As long as she promises to let any VK leave the Isle if they express wanting to leave. If you hear the rain outside, it just started pouring. So we're just gonna keep going because I don't know how long it's gonna rain, and if I stop now it could be raining for another hour. Later on in this movie, there's an instance where Uma teams up with Mal, lending her some of her powers to reverse a spell set by Audrey.
I'm sorry, my spells aren't working. Audrey's magic is getting stronger. You caused our friends pain and fear. We've had enough. Now disappear.
And after the eventual fallout, after it's been discovered that Mal was lying to everyone, that she had no intention of letting anyone leave the Isle from that point forward, Uma took a moment to free herself from the confined role of Mal's keeper, in the sense that she no longer considered herself responsible for helping Mal because she felt betrayed. And her end of the bargain, yet again, like in the second movie, wasn't going to be held up, and she was being lied to. Several times. However, this is quickly negated as less than 5 minutes later, Uma's helping Mal reignite the ember again after Mal's failed and desperate attempts in the midst of fighting Audrey.
We're stronger together. Stronger together. I'm right here, Mal. Regain your might and ignite. I'm right here, girl. I'm right here. Regain your might and ignite.
After this battle, Uma announces she's leaving for the Isle, stating, "The Isle is my home. Someone needs to be there to protect it." Because after all, Mal's not gonna let anybody leave. This is where we see the abrupt exit of the magical Negro after they've served their purpose. After Uma returns to the Isle to be its proper leader, we see Mal decreed as Queen of Auradon, only with a twist. In her coronation speech, Mal declares that she cannot be Queen of Auradon.
And that's why I can't be queen of just Auradon. I have to be queen of the Isle, too. And it's time that we take the barrier down forever.
I have to be Queen of the Isle too. Whoa! What a wild statement. You have to be queen of the aisle too? Girl, a little greedy, no? Wow! Well, isn't that just a lovely twist? In the scene following Uma's departure and her declaration of leaving to the aisle, Mal decides she cannot be queen of just Auradon, but the Isle as well, stripping Uma of any leadership power she may now have. Any power that she may have managed to grasp in the mere seconds that she was free of Mal's confinement.
Editing Kiara here, I would also just like to note that it was Uma's core ethos in the second movie and the third movie to bring down the barrier. Mal had no desire to do this, and when Uma suggested they bring down the barrier in the second movie, it was met with immediate pushback. We cannot.
I have an announcement. Uma will be joining the court tonight as my lady.
Son.
Not now, Dad! So, as my gift to her, I'm bringing down the barrier once and for all. Fairy Godmother, bring down the barrier.
I most certainly will not.
I am your king!
Obey him.
And in the third movie it is as well.
Guarantee me that every single villain kid who wants to can get off the aisle.
I can't do that.
I do that.
Well, how about now?
Deal!
But when Mal asks in the third movie, Ben says, "No, father. We're bringing that barrier down. My girlfriend just told me to do that, so we're gonna do that." Double standard. Double standard.
It's time that we take the barrier down forever.
We can't do that.
It's up to us, Dad. I choose to be a king who moves forward.
Yeah, so, as a black viewer, it was just quite upsetting and unnerving to see the eradication of a young black girl's dream just like that. As soon as the white girl got in power, she said, "And that's enough rights for you." Yeah, however, this is a sad reality. Oftentimes, those in power are not minorities and are not sensitive to their plights and their struggles or their ambitions. We see this in Mal, no consultation with Uma or talks of partnership even, just decrees her control of the aisle, and that's it. It's details like these that are important. The subliminal messages aren't always as subliminal as we all like to think, especially to the groups that the messages are targeted at. Imagery shown is not by mistake, and quite the opposite, in fact. There are whole teams in charge of storyboards, imagery, scene depiction, and makeup, etc. We have to assume each decision was intentional. We must hold these corporations responsible for the narratives they tell and show us. The days of saying something is a coincidence have to be over if we want to progress and have more equitable and respectable and positive representation. I named the next section, Audrey, a dream of time gone by. Get it? It's like I dreamed a dream, but it's Audrey. Okay. Throughout this film series, there are two villains in particular that, though have made less than ideal decisions and actions, I feel they were not necessarily given a fair chance, or at least not the same chance as the other VKs and Mal were given. These villains are Uma and Audrey. In the first film, Audrey is introduced to us as King Ben's girlfriend, the daughter of Sleeping Beauty. As the film progresses, Mal uses a spell to make Ben fall in love with her, stealing him from Audrey as we see him completely forget about Audrey. And through the course of this film, we also learn that Audrey's grandmother is black, which infers that Audrey herself is also black. Is that my good sis? The actress that plays Audrey also was in the 688, which if you have not seen that movie, I recommend you go watch it. It was amazing, great. I remember when I saw this scene back in the first film, I was pleasantly surprised that Disney casted a black woman as her grandmother, but I was excited because I could tell that she was like, a little mixed, but Disney likes to tippy tap on that fine little line. That being said, from that point forward, we can assume that Audrey's character is to be a character of color. The way that she was treated thereafter would be very important. By the end of the film, Ben has decided to stay with Mal even after the spell is worn off. So what the issue with this is, for me, is that when he jumps into the lake, I forget the name of the lake, that essentially negates most spells, if not all. So as soon as he jumps into that water, the spell is worn off. So he knows what Mal has done. He still continues to date her after this. However, there's not a single point in this film that I've seen, at least, I've watched it a couple of times, where Ben explicitly breaks up with Audrey. So he's essentially cheating on her for the remainder of this franchise and embarrasses her at a tourney game by declaring his love in front of everybody. I just can't even express to you how insane that actually is. Everybody who knows that Audrey and Ben were an item, and apparently now he is with Mal. And over the course of the next two films, we see Mal and King Ben getting engaged to be engaged to be engaged, as so they call it in the film. But nevertheless, Mal is set to be the future queen. Reminder that Ben never officially broke up with Audrey, and no one ever truly acknowledged what happened. So at the announcement of Ben and Mal's engagement, everyone is filled with joy and excitement, cheering on the new couple. Audrey then asks the very valid question, I feel, of, you'd really rather have a VK on the throne than me? I really think what she's saying is like, so what about her was so much better than me that you couldn't even give me the decency to, like, tell me, bro? Like, you really just, like, up and left me. I gave you years, bro. Years. To which there is no response.
You'd really rather have a VK on the throne than me? What is wrong with you people?
Also present in this scene is Audrey's grandmother, who conveys to Audrey that she should be ashamed to let a prince slip through her fingers in such a way.
A lifetime of plans gone. Our family status gone. Audrey, you were supposed to be his queen, and you let him slip through your fingers. Your mother could hold on to a prince in her sleep.
Don't you think I feel bad enough already, Grammy?
Ben and Mal are the best! I'm so excited for Mal to be our queen.
One aspect to highlight in this is the sentiment behind her grandmother's statement. Oftentimes, Black people and people of color have to work twice as hard to get half the recognition of their white counterparts. And after seeing the amount of work Audrey put into her relationship with Ben, only to see it crumble at the entrance of Mal, well, that may have tapped into this very concept.
A lifetime of plans gone. Your mother could hold on to a prince in her sleep.
I'm so tired of pretending. Where's my happy ending? I followed all the rules. I drew inside the lines. I never asked for anything that wasn't mine. I waited patiently for my time, but when it finally came, he called her name.
This is such an important turning point to highlight, as this is the moment where Audrey reaches her breaking point. And I mean, it's understandable. Given the circumstances, not only did Mal spell her boyfriend, but Ben fell in love with Mal after the fact, forgot about Audrey, with no proper apology from either one of them. And I mean, come on, Disney. Not even an apology. And now Audrey has to watch as all the people she once considered her friends cheer on the person living the life that she felt was hers. It's gotta hurt, bro. In terms of representation, this one is a little more intricate and subtle than other examples provided in this video. So subtle that I didn't even really notice it upon my first watch. In the moment it was revealed Audrey's grandmother was Black, it changed the entire way her character was perceived. From a Black or POC perspective, not only did Audrey experience all of these misfortunes, they were perpetrated by a white presenting character. In light of that, Audrey went on to exact her revenge on the kingdom she felt had betrayed her, and in a way, I guess it had. This third film really painted Audrey out as a villain in the face of Mal, who had seemingly been exonerated of all of her crimes. From the first movie to the third, Mal never really answered for her actions or the rippling effect that they had. And just, here's a short list of those crimes. In the first film, Mal spelled the king. And her punishment was becoming his girlfriend and getting to stay in Oregon. Yeah, second film does not hold up her end of the deal by lying and cheating her way out and condemning an individual for doing the same actions she herself previously did with no repercussions. Yeah. In the third film, Mal, by purposeful omission, did not notify new VKs that were chosen to leave the aisle that they would never be able to return once they left, as the bridge would be forever broken. No one in or out, meaning they would never see their families again. Lied to her longtime friends about her role in this new protocol for the VKs, and once again lied to Uma, and once again did not hold up her end of the deal that they struck. Now, Mal does not have to be perfect. We all make mistakes, and given her upbringing, she was a fish out of water. Anyone would feel under pressure in some of the situations that she was in. Disney, however, did not have to have such double standards by having two characters of color be treated the way they were by the protagonist of these films. Felt like another opportunity for their peril and struggle to be belittled. All Uma wanted was to be free from the aisle, as well as free others that were wrongfully imprisoned due to their parents' actions. Audrey had to watch her meticulously planned future ripped out from under her, face public humiliation, and in trying to pick up the pieces, just had reached her breaking point. Okay, so why does this all matter? Now comes the representation. It's not there. Okay, it's there, but it's really not as good as it could be. I don't know. So, I think that's where I'm gonna end it. I'm sure there are some other parts that I could talk over, but I am a bit exhausted. So, thank you all so much for watching this video. Sorry for the past and present time going forward, but I really did think that this was an interesting topic to talk about. Of course, I could flesh it out a bit more, but this was something that I just wanted to throw together for you all for this movie, because it's something that I've been thinking about since the third movie came out. I have not seen any of the new Descendants movies. I probably will not be. Let me know if you guys are and what you think of them. If you like this video, I've done a video on Disney's representation, Bianca Barclay, Azula from Avatar, Korra from Avatar, and I have a video on Mel Medard from Arcane coming up. So if you are interested in any of those, please check them out. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like, and thank you so much for almost 100 subscribers, and that's gonna be it for me, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. I wrote this really weird, like it wasn't meant to be read out loud. This really is just like a thesis, bro.